Welcome back to the Thrive 45 Method podcast with me, your host, nutritionist Stacey Nicole Smith. And this is the space where we talk all things weight loss and wellness for the woman in perimenopause and menopause. Now, let's get started with today's episode. Hello, ladies. What's up? All right, welcome back. So today we are talking about something that happens to almost every woman who is on a weight loss journey. And it's very frustrating. It's a weight loss plateau. So, and let me know in the comments there if you've ever experienced this yourself. So you're going along, you're on track, you're doing everything right, and you start losing a bit of weight, and then out of nowhere, it stalls out and your weight just kind of stops, right? And it can be very frustrating, and you think that, oh, nothing's going to work, and it's inevitable. And what is the first thing that we usually do when that happens is we cut everything back even more. And so we're going to go into why that can actually backfire, what causes metabolic or a plateau, and what to do instead to get out of it. So when we're going through, we're losing some weight, we're humming along, and suddenly it stalls. So there's a few reasons that this can happen. Number one is something we call metabolic adaptation. And what that means is your body now, and it's a survival mechanism, right? So your body will burn off less to match what you're taking in because it wants you to survive. So it's great for survival, not so great for weight loss. So one of those things is metabolic adaptation. So your body's just kind of getting used to it. And so is everything down to match it. I'm going to tell you how to get out of that later. One of the other things that we often see, especially as women in perimenopause, this could be hormonal fluctuations happening. Maybe you ate something that had too much sodium and you're holding on to water there. Not sleeping well, too much stress, which can make us hold on to it. There can be many factors that have nothing to do with food. So that's another one. Another big one that I see, tell me if you see yourself in this one. This one is huge. And people often say, oh, this doesn't apply to me. But hear me out. Another one that is very common is you're humming along, you're losing weight, you're doing great, you're feeling amazing. Suddenly it stalls out. One of the things that's often happening is you're getting so comfortable and confident in this weight loss that we slowly start to drift off. And so maybe we're slowly not being as, what's the word I'm looking for? We're not being as intentional about getting enough protein at each meal, or we're slowly picking up a little, someone has some cake, cookies, whatever at work, you're picking off a little piece, or maybe you're picking up, half a, handful of nuts at home. You're slowly drifting because we're not as motivated and intentional as when we start. And that's normal. That's human nature, right? So that's another one to look out for. Another big one I see, especially with women and this age group, is chronic undereating. Because chronic undereating, especially for us ladies in perimenopause and menopause, when we're experiencing these hormonal fluctuations, right? Estrogen and progesterone are fluctuating around and then decreasing. And at the same time, cortisol, the stress hormone, is increasing. So this makes us more sensitive to stress. And what is viewed by the body as stressful? Chronic undereating. Our body views this as a stressor. So by chronically undereating, it can actually have your body holding on to weight, which is kind of crazy, right? And so then, of course, we want to look at, like I mentioned, sleep and all these kind of factors that are non-food related. Now, again, the biggest mistakes I see, and if you've ever hit a plateau, I can be pretty confident in assuming that you've done one of these because it's human nature and it's what we do. And it's to restrict further. So you've gotten so far and now you're stuck and your weight hasn't moved in a couple of weeks and you're like, oh my gosh. So the natural response is, all right, I guess I just need to eat less. I guess I just need to get rid of carbs. It's the carbs that are causing the problem. Or I guess I just need to work out more. I got to do this. Here's the thing. These things like chronic undereating are also viewed by the body as stressors and can make it worse. And this is one of the reasons that women are so frustrated because you feel like you're doing everything right and everything that makes sense in theory, but it's not working. And so then you're sitting there thinking, well, this weight gain is inevitable. I'm never going to get this weight off because I'm doing every trick in the book and nothing's working. It's just that you're doing tricks in the book that maybe work for a younger body, but they're backfiring for this body. So we just have to take a look at what's going to work here. So one of the things you want to do when you want to get through a plateau is you want to take pause and you want to kind of zoom out a little bit and just see what's the big picture, kind of over weeks and months instead of one single weigh-in. Because that one single weigh-in may not even be telling the full picture. It might be a day that you're retaining water. It might be a day after you had really poor sleep. It might be during a week that you're under a lot of stress, right? So we just want to kind of zoom out and say, what is the bigger picture here? The other thing I highly, highly, highly recommend doing if you want to get out of a plateau is get really honest with yourself and just the freshness that you had when you started the weight loss journey, bring that freshness back when you hit a plateau, because that's when we notice the little things that we do mindlessly. So again, like picking out a little bit of food here, maybe having, some cheese on your dinner at the restaurant when you weren't, when you started out, maybe not drinking enough water because you just kind of got comfortable with it, maybe not having enough protein with your breakfast. Like we just kind of slip off and get comfortable, right? And again, it's human nature. It's nothing to be upset about. It's just about bringing mindfulness back to it, because a lot of times that's exactly what's happening. Another thing we can do, and it's a little bit more advanced because it can backfire. But if you're finding that you're hitting a plateau, instead of cutting everything lower, because again, that's just going to create a stress response on the body and can actually backfire and hold on to weight. One of the things you can do is be very targeted in your approach and actually add a little something. Now, again, this one is probably best done under guidance because it could backfire, but you want to almost shock your body a little tiny bit and get it to bump up the rate it's burning everything off. But then you can't overdo it either. So it's got to be pretty strategic and targeted. But a lot of times that will get women through a plateau. So having a little bump in what you're eating, target it, but just a little bit, but just enough, is enough to bring you out of that plateau and get onto the other side and have your body burning everything off again. So contrary to thinking we should have less. And it's not that we should have more, and it's not that you should have a binge or like a crazy meal, but maybe some targeted extra carbs with this particular meal, maybe a little something extra with this meal. And that can oftentimes signal your body enough to get out of that plateau. But again, you want to be careful with that. But it can work wonders when done properly. The other thing that you want, whether you do something or you do nothing, is you want to have a little bit of patience, because a lot of times the plateau will work itself out. Your body might just be sitting there adapting a little bit, but then it knows you're going to keep being consistent with the right things, and the plateau will eventually break itself. Now, that's the key word, with the right thing, key words with the right thing. So if you're doing plenty of the wrong things and continue doing the wrong things, obviously it's not going to work. But if you have a solid strategy and it was working up to this point, meaning you're eating to the point of feeling nice and satiated and satisfied, you're not getting overly hungry between meals, your energy is steady through the day, and you've been steadily dropping weight, even if it's just a little bit at once, as long as it's steady. And oftentimes the slower the better, because you don't want to lose a ton of weight really fast, because that means you're more likely to bring it back. We want to do it as long as it's consistent, going in the right direction. Slower is often better because it means you're more likely to keep it off because it's done properly. So if you're doing the right things and you're sure you're doing the right things, then oftentimes it's just being consistent, because a lot of women, and tell me if this sounds like you, if we hit a plateau and we stay in it for a little while, we're frustrated and we're like, what's the point? What's the point of even trying? It's not working. And then you get frustrated and you go back to whatever, gain the weight back that you lost, usually then some, stay that way for a while. Then you get to the point that you're frustrated again. You're like, I had it, that's enough. And then the cycle starts again, right? So step one, recognizing that plateaus are normal. They happen to most women who are on a weight loss journey. Recognizing that the solution is not to cut everything further. That can backfire as women in peri and menopause, because we've got these hormonal fluctuations making our bodies more sensitive to stress. These things are stress responses, severe restriction. And the third one is you want to just take a look, a really be honest with yourself and say, where have I changed something? I'm on this journey, everything's working, and now it's not. Did something change? Am I getting a little more lax with what I'm doing? Oftentimes that's the case. And then you go back to the basics. Am I still having enough water? Am I having enough protein? How is my sleep? How is my stress? Could this potentially be from some hormonal fluctuations? Could I have just simply had a really high sodium meal, right? And then, of course, patience to get through it, and know, as long as you are always consistent on the right things, as long as you know what those right things are, then your plateau will break through. Just don't give up, because when you give up, again, we go through that cycle and we gain it back and all that kind of good stuff. If you want some help on what are some of the things to focus on for weight loss specific to women in perimenopause, generally women over the age of 45, can be a little younger, I have a free guide with for fat loss for women over 45 specific. And I've got some things in there for you to focus on to get you started. Comment, guide, and I will happily send you the free fat loss over 45 guide. I hope that helps you. Any questions, leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this episode helpful. If so, please be sure to like and subscribe to be notified when new episodes are released. Episodes like this are released weekly for all things weight loss and wellness for the woman in perimenopause and menopause. And for other ways I can help you, please be sure to visit the show notes or visit my bio. Thanks for listening. Bye.